Here we go. Hey everybody, let's do some quick Patreon shout-outs for our newest Patreon patrons. Thank you to Tiffany Tate. Also, we have 3 people who have upped their pledges to the Patreon, so I just want to thank you to Aaron M., Mandy, Howard, and Lacey K. Thank you all so much. So thank you everybody who's given, and thank you for the people that have adjusted to give us more. We appreciate you. Welcome, everybody, to episode 70 of the Serial Chillers podcast here in the Super Network studio. I am here, of course, with Hella Greg and his mobile bunker across the internet somewhere on the planet. Welcome, and how goes it, Hella Greg?
Good stuff, man. Doing good.
Just out here chilling all day, every day.
Yeah, man. You know how I do.
Fight thread.
Fight thread.
And we've got some guys here that everybody knows, so don't worry, guys. We're all well acquainted. I'm going to start from the right. Welcome back, Josh.
Hello.
Robbie, what's going down, dude?
Nothing.
You're officially at the number where we're going to stop counting the episodes you've been on.
I like
so
that.
Welcome, dude.
I like
welcome.
that.
You might even get a little theme or something next time. Maybe don't. Let's see.
Get my hopes
Let's
up.
see. I know. This guy will be excited because I changed phones and we lost his old one. So here's a new one with an homage to the old one. Welcome back, Bigfoot.
Dang, I like that.
Yes.
I like that. Can I touch your ball first, little boy?
So, welcome back, Bigfoot. The gang is all here, everybody. You guys know how the show works. Let's break it down for anybody that doesn't. I'm just trying to figure out how we're going to weave around this. Each week, I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends. Tell them the story of an infamous serial killer.
Why do you look at me when you say that?
Throughout the show, you
It
guys
was direct eye contact.
Throughout the show, you guys could chime in on my story. And if you brought your own, that is true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious, please feel free to share it. Lastly, if you have questions about questions, make sure to ask questions because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never asked questions. Are there any questions?
Greg, can you please not edit that out?
Then welcome
need
to
context.
and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. Now we're going to put it at the very front so that it just like plays and then there's the intro. All right, you guys. Today's serial killer, tell me, have any of you dudes heard of Glen Edward Rogers?
No. Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, not same guy,
Yep,
right?
Mr. Rogers. No, not at all. That would have been Fred Rogers. Totally different story here. Robbie, I've got a sore throat, but this one's for you. Question number 1. In what year was Glen Rogers born?
Ah, boy.
My throat literally still hurts from going to that World Series game.
Oh, shit, that's right.
It's fucking amazing.
They win that one that you went to?
Yeah.
What was that, game 4?
Yeah. When the Dodgers went up 4-0, and then we scored
yeah.
9 in the last 3.
Yeah. Laura was stoked about that.
Man, you guys all guess right in the same area. Casey says 40. Robbie said 42.
42.
Josh said 1948.
Shit.
Yeah, that was very weird. Josh is going to get 250 points because Glen Rogers is born July 15th, 1962.
Ooh.
Dang.
Had that one chilling for a minute. Thanks for the pizza, Casey.
You're very welcome.
So, July 15th, 1962, Glen Edward Rogers is born by a cesarean section to Edna Rogers and her husband, Claude Rogers, in Hamilton, Ohio. What's funny is, you know why I put this in here? Is because every fucking article about him mentions this. Like, it was somehow important to, like, how he ended up being. So I was like, I'm just going to put it in here. This seems important to the tale. Let's get it in there. So we're all clear here, all right? He was born cesarean. His dad, Claude, was a pump operator at the local Champion Paper Company, and Edna stayed at home to take care of the 7 children. Glen was the 6th of 7. 6 boys, 1 girl. So, yeah. From 1962 and 63, 1 to 2 years old, pretty much his infant years, Glen would sit and rock back and forth and continually bang his head against things like his crib or the wall. Like he's like, let me just start
He's
right
on the
here.
spectrum.
Yeah, right here. I'm gonna tell you that it gets like it sounds absolutely insane for like the first 3 sentences, and then it gets normal for a little bit, and then some shit happens. But the beginning, you're like, this guy's going to be like biting cats in half by the time he's 8 years old. There's just a lot of shit early, and I don't know what the fuck his deal was, but yeah. So he bangs his head on a lot of shit, but he was never once said to have cried. They said that he cried when he was born and a little bit when he was like a very small baby, but when he became like 10, 12 months old, he stopped crying.
It's because boys don't cry. Duh.
Seen that movie.
There we go. So he obviously seemed pretty emotionally flat. We're talking 1 or 2 years old, and he's already like, no, this is my life. Like slamming his head against the wall. He was still in diapers when Edna slapped him so hard one time that he was unable to breathe and passed out. I'm guessing that she knocked the wind out of him is what they're saying. Yeah, and just, maybe had a little panic, or maybe he just couldn't get enough air. Yeah. Yeah. Every time I've ever had the wind knocked out of me, I've thought I was going to fucking die. So I can imagine why he might have passed out as a 3-year-old getting whacked so hard that it happened to him. Also, around these same years, it was said that at this young age, his mother worried about him and how he was going to be around his siblings. She decided that while she was not able to be directly in watching him, she would tie him up in some type of restraint. So it wasn't anything crazy, but it was like enough to keep him against the wall. Like he wasn't like crucified and hung from a cross, but he was tied up. He's a 3-year-old that was tied up. When he learned to free his arms from the restraints, he began doing the headbanging thing once more and eating paint chips off the wall.
Tommy boy.
In the 60s, that was leaded paint.
Yeah, that's what I was literally just going to say. 64, 65, this is like, we're heavy leaded paint time. Possibly considering and reconsidering killing her own troubled child, Glen claims that during baths around this age, so like 2 to 4 years old, his mother would grab his head and hold it under the water. And then, like, she would always panic and let him go. He said that he was only 3 or 4 when this happened, but says that he remembers it with great clarity because it happened fairly regularly.
I hate that.
So Glen would continue to struggle with the things that you may expect someone we have on the show. He was a bedwetter to the fucking max, for which his mother and siblings would often give him a ton of shit. You have 6 older siblings. There's no way you're pissing the bed into, like, your 6, 7, 8 years and them not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because chances are, especially back then, they were sharing beds. So somebody else was sleeping in that piss.
It was the 1960s, not the 1860s.
So, I mean, I'm assuming this guy didn't come from a super affluent family.
No, you are correct. There's, I think I'll kind of get into how poor they were in a little bit here.
I'm guessing there was like 3 sets of bunk beds, and then the daughter had her own room, like in an outhouse or something.
In 1966 to 72, from the ages of 4 to 10, he was influenced heavily by his older siblings. He was particularly close with his brother Clay, who I believe was 7 years older than him. They were a very poor family, and all of the older siblings knew that if they wanted something other than, quote, government oatmeal, they had to steal it. The older brother Clay, so there's a documentary called My Brother, the Serial Killer, and it's narrated by his older brother Clay. Like, he just kind of comes out and says everything that he had an idea about, and like growing up. That's one of the things he said. He said they ate government oatmeal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. At one point, it was like 3 years in a row. Like, that's what they had. So if you wanted something else, you went to a friend's house or someone else's and you stole it. So that's kind of what they have going on. And so when he's like 6, he's like, yeah, all right, I guess that's what we got to fucking do then. Glen would continue to struggle with the... they were very poor, government oatmeal, yep. In the documentary, Glen's brother explains it all. Essentially, it's every sibling for themselves, and if you want some shit, you go get it elsewhere than home because they don't really have anything but the roof over your head and some government oatmeal to eat.
Were the parents there? Like, were they around?
Mom was around. Dad was the pump operator at the paper factory. So that's what they have going on. So, question number 2, in that case, this one is multiple choice. At what age will Glen commit his first burglary? 6, 7, 8, or 9? So we already fucking know. It's before the age of 10. All right. Casey says 6, 6, 6. Josh says 7. Robbie said 9. You guys picked everything but the correct answer of 8 years old when he commits his first burglary. Forgot to write Josh's points.
It's a late bloomer.
Yeah. 8 years old. Okay, so the story goes, his brother Clay said that one time they were all going to the park. So before this, they had done petty things, stolen some shit off front porches. They had gone and taken things out of open windows. Clay says that they go to the park, some of the siblings to play, and Glen goes hey, I'm going to be right back. And he walks by this house, and the little old lady's in the front pulling weeds or whatever. And he's like, hi, Mrs. Smith or whatever. He passes the house, goes up the side, goes into her house because she's out front, and takes all the shit he needs, dips, goes back to the park to be playing with his siblings. When he comes back, he wants to share everything with Clay that he'd received, and Clay remembers thinking that Glen had progressed to a place beyond what he and the other siblings were willing to do. So, this kid's 8. They're, helping, his brother's, 15 or whatever at the time, and he's like, my 8-year-old brother's way more fucking hardcore than me. This is crazy. We still, cooling pies out of the window like a fucking Popeye cartoon or something. And this guy's, literally burglarizing the home of an old woman. What have I done as an older sibling? You can tell that dude Clay throughout that entire documentary carries a lot of fucking guilt over
But he's also capitalizing on it because he's making money with the documentary.
the whole time I couldn't help but think man, those dentures look pretty new, Clay.
Nice and shiny.
Yeah, so pretty bad. His whole life is kind of small town crime. He's never going to like a lot of serial killers we cover. They get arrested 25 times, and if he were somewhere other than Ohio, that would have been the case. But this was more the people who caught him, kick him in the ass, and get the hell out of here, Glen. I'm gonna fucking tell your mom. And that, that's the discipline that happened throughout his time. So same idea is from these guys who get arrested 15 fucking times, and they just get them let out the next day. And the next day, people were just kicking him in the ass, and that was really all that was coming of it because mom had 7 kids to watch. His dad was at work 70 hours a week. Yeah. He wasn't getting the discipline at home.
Yeah.
So, question number 3. What next positive life event would happen for Glen? Is it A, he gets accepted into a good middle school? B, he stops wetting the bed? C, he gets his own room? Or D, his parents won a lawsuit and got some money? Gets accepted to a good middle school, stopped wetting the bed, got in his own room, parents won a lawsuit and got some money.
How old was he? Did you say?
At this point, he is preteens, 10, 11 years old. 12. He's going to be 12. So we've got 2 that said his parents won a lawsuit and got some money. Robbie said stopped wetting the bed. Mm-hmm. Robbie's going to get 250 points because that's right. At the age of 12, Glen Rogers finally stops urinating in his bed that he probably shares, according to Greg. So 250 points for Robbie, 250 points for Josh. The comeback kid, Bigfoot, still not on the board, but I've seen him do some shit. You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? We're 3 of 14 questions, I believe. Greg, how are you feeling about Glen Rogers so far? Fight thread?
No, I'm listening, and I don't like him.
He's not
He's
that
a
bad
bedwetter,
so far.
and I don't want to sleep in pee.
I guess that's...
Smells like maple syrup in here. Did somebody make... I know we don't have pancakes. All we have is government oatmeal.
So yeah, Glen stopped wetting the bed. That's correct if you've done the math right. Glen Rogers was a seasoned thief and burglar before he was able to kick the habit of pissing in his own bed. 1974, at the age of 12 as well, Glen began drinking and became addicted to drugs as a result of Clay's drug addiction. So Clay gets all fucked up on meth and booze, and he's like, hey, 12-year-old Glen, check out what I'm doing these days. Yeah.
I would feel like that would only make it harder for him to abstain from wetting the bed, being all hammered.
I'm not saying he never pissed the bed again. I just think he would be,
He kicked the
Well,
habit.
he's just not doing himself any favors.
yeah. And you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
He just wasn't sleeping in his bed anymore.
It sounds like the inspiration for the movie Gummo. Like, hey, look at this
I'm not
poor
sure I know the
family
movie.
Yeah,
that's
what's the
just
movie?
doing meth all the time. Let's make a movie about that.
Maybe it was. Maybe once we get to the end of the story, you'll be like, oh, I see. It was.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. So, during the same year, he and Clay would start burglarizing houses for money and were later caught after robbing 200 homes in 2 years. So that was their
200 homes.
and that was like their in their smallish town, they had robbed over 200 homes over 2 years. So in 600 days, every 3 days, they were robbing a house.
Dang.
It's like $1 an hour.
So, so in 1974, Glenn was sent to reform school as a result of his criminal behavior. And in 1975, Glenn found naked photographs of his redheaded mother and attempted suicide.
Shit.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
For
So
what
he
it's worth, I'm Googling her right now.
So, question number 4 already. How would he attempt suicide? Would it be A, pain pills, B, slitting his wrist, C, hanging himself, or D, shooting himself? Pain pills, slit wrists, hanging, shooting. Everybody says that he tried to hang himself, but he tried to overdose on 25
Wow.
Motrin pain reliever tablets.
Trying to kill that headache, bro.
He had no headache.
That's what I was
at
going
all.
to say. I feel like you would take that and be like, man, my stomach kind of hurts. Like that would be the end of it.
better eat
I don't
Ow,
know,
my
though.
pancreas.
I was like, they're poor. They don't have money for pain pills.
Yeah.
Like, you just gotta hang himself. They don't have a gun. They
he
don't have
couldn't-
pain pills.
Yeah. And he couldn't because the wood was rotted. So, you know.
See, you didn't think far enough into it, Robbie. You got to slow down, man. All right. So, in 1976, they start realizing that Glenn has some weird disorder that manifests when he became upset or angry and had no control. He would break out in red splotches all over his face, arms, hands, and chest. It's called porphyria or Mad King George disease. Although Glenn was not crazy severe, some people who suffer porphyria have their urine become blue and suffer from extreme aches and pains. So later in life, Glenn will get the blue urine. It's something where, yeah, it's some. Well, and that's kind of like, I mean, we'll get to it, but it almost becomes a calling card at some point.
Yeah.
You said
Who
this when he
spilled
becomes
Gatorade
angry.
in the bed?
When he becomes angry, the splotches
Glenn.
happen. He's always got the blue urine once he gets it because it's something about like his body doesn't switch some type of enzyme to like make the urea, which turns the urine yellow, and it has the blue tint because it's something with the blood. And I don't know.
Best I can tell.
I Googled it real quick and read the first paragraph. So yeah, he's got this weird ass, but his family didn't know what it was at the time. That's what it is. But they were just like, sometimes he pees blue and he's got these weird red splotches. In 1977, at the age of 15, Glenn met Debbie, who was a 13-year-old sex worker, and Glenn fell head over heels for her.
Young
did
love.
she.
Several weeks after Glenn was arrested for aggravated menacing, his first arrest as an adult, quote unquote, there was another sex worker he was very interested in, and there's not really stalking laws, so that was the arrest.
Yeah.
It was for menacing. But he also couldn't really leave Debbie alone either. And in 1978, when he's 16, he's expelled from high school, having reached his 16th birthday and still being in 9th grade with F's in every subject. So they were like, hey, listen, nah, you can go now.
In like 25 years, there's going to be this thing called No Child Left Behind. But until then,
Until then, listen.
we're leaving your ass behind.
Yeah.
Hella smart.
Can all of these students report to the sub-basement B for a mountain bike? Glen Rogers.
That is all.
Yes. In 1979, his dad suffered a life-threatening stroke that left him bedridden, and Glenn often dropped by and took care of his father. Question number 5. Glenn did this so his mother could go out and leave to do what? A, look for a job. B, go to night school. C, just to get a night out. Or D, look for a new companion. look for a job, go to night school, have a night out, look for a new companion. Josh and Bigfoot both say D, look for a new companion. Robbie says B, go to night school, bettering herself. Robbie, I like how positive you are with that. But you are wrong.
She's trying to redeem herself, tried to drown her child. I want to go to school now.
Nope, she is out looking for a new companion.
Learn how to do it better.
Trying to
Yeah, I
show
want
those,
to do it better.
show those nudies off.
Bigfoot and Josh, both 250 points. Bigfoot, you're on the board. 250 Bigfoot, 250 Robbie, 500 Josh with the lead. 5 of 14 questions down, I believe. It's either 13 or 14.
Ooh.
We'll get there when we get there, you know what I'm saying? So while his mother went out in search and found a new companion, he didn't know that that's what she was doing. He thought she was going out and,
Going to night
bettering
school.
herself. Yes, she wasn't saying implicitly what she was doing, but that she was going out, and he was under the impression, and I think this is mom. Why wouldn't he trust her? Maybe because
She tried to drown him.
Yeah,
He's also not that bright.
not at all.
So
How dare you?
So,
there, I love you.
in July of 1979, he's 17 years old. Glenn saw his mother in a bar with another man, and he went home, put his father in the car, and took him to the bar to show him what his mother was doing. He could tell how bummed out it made his dad.
Do you
So it
think
takes-
they had one of
Could he
those
tell?
moments where they're like, "What are you doing here?" And she was like, "What are you doing here? You're 17."
Yeah. So he could tell how sad it made his father. So he took his dad home. And question number 6, what would he do next? Would he A, change the lock so his mom couldn't get back in? B, beat his mom and the new man with a baseball bat? C, take pictures for proof? Or D, went on a long drive to clear his head? Change the locks, beat his mom, take pictures for proof, or go on a long drive to clear his head? All right, everybody says beat his mom. Y'all got no faith in Glen Rogers. You think he'd just kick his damn mom's ass just like that, huh? That's what all you guys think. You're all goddamn right. 250 points to all of you because, yes, after seeing how bummed out it made his dad, he went into the bar and beat his damn mom and that dude with a baseball bat. Not real bad from what I understand, but gave him a good beating.
In the bar?
How'd it go?
Yeah.
Fool me once. Can't. How did
Fool me can't be fooled again.
Fool me twice. How did Bush say that? How'd that go?
Fool me can't be fooled again.
Yeah.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, can't get fooled again.
And, fool me 3 times, fuck peace signs.
He just waxes poetical all the time, man.
Okay. So, yeah, all right. Jesus, let's get into some Glen Rogers, guys. Jesus.
So hold on. So he actually went to the bar,
He went back. His mom was still there with the dude
right, in public.
in public and just whapped him up real good.
So he went to the bar
nice.
3 times that night.
Yep.
It seems yeah.
Gas
I
was
don't,
much
I don't think it
cheaper
was
back in
far.
the
I
70s,
also don't think it was far from home. Like, okay.
Real hard.
So yeah, he beat his mom. Debbie still had a thing for Glenn even after his initial overeagerness. Glenn claimed that he loved her too. So she's now 14 though, guys. Glenn's 17, so she's getting older too, right?
Getting a little long in the tooth there.
Fucking Glen Rogers. So she was 14 when she became pregnant while continuing her job, quote unquote, meaning that she was made pregnant by another man while working. Glenn was 17 and knew it wasn't his son, but Clinton Dwayne was born on August 26, 1979, and Glenn later legally adopted him and gave him the Rogers name. What a guy,
Good dude.
Yeah, dude. He's got his 14-year-old sex worker girlfriend who he's now adopted a child from,
Baby mama.
raising it as his own, even though he knows it's not his. When he turned 18 and Debbie was 15, they were married. So, Yep. 19
We gotta
years.
wait till one of us is legal, baby.
In 1981, he's now 19 years old. Glenn has a second son, Jonathan Claude Rogers, named after his father. In 1982, Glenn thought Debbie was cheating on him, and so he followed her. After he witnessed her pick up a man, he followed her home after witnessing them have sex. So he let her get the money. But then he beat her violently, striking her several times in the vagina with the toe of his steel-toed boot.
Is it really cheating though? Like if that's your job?
I was just gonna ask, was she?
That
was it
wasn't.
because she was
I
off
think.
the
I
clock?
think that they were under the impression that when she was no longer doing that job. They were an
She
exclusive
just
thing.
came
now.
home with money randomly all the time.
Hey, I wasn't there, man. I'm just a
I
storyteller.
mean, where did they get the
Don't
money
kill
from the
the messenger.
steel-toed boots?
Basically, what happened was that he destroyed her pelvis and did tissue damage to her vagina, and it required corrective surgery. So he kicked her like 30 or 40 times, from what I understand. He just kept kicking her. He believed that if he couldn't have her sexually, then no one could.
Like when Milhouse tries out Bart's cup.
Yeah, I think it's similar.
Yeah.
Let's just say, similar.
Don't bring the Simpsons into that.
In 1982 to 85, from the ages of 20 to 23, Glen meets a woman named Catherine with a C. Glen and Catherine marry Capoina, with whom he had recently had another son move to Los Angeles suburbs until December of 1985. So from 82 to 85, he goes and kicks it in L.A. In 1986, Glen's brother...
There he kicks it. I get it.
In 1986, at the age of 24, Glen's brother Clay introduced Glen to Shanda Price, a woman with whom they pulled several hustles and cons through Ohio and Kentucky. The money would help get Glen back to his L.A. lifestyle. Glen went to the emergency room after being overly intoxicated. Glen is a regular seasoned drinker, and the people at the local hospital happened to know this of him as well, so they were wondering how he got a BAC that was so high. They finally got him to drunkenly admit that he had injected beer into his veins to get drunk more quickly. Ooh. Question number 7. What beer did he inject into his veins? Was it A, Keystone, B, Budweiser, C, Coors, or D, Milwaukee's Best? What?
What year? 85?
85. Keystone, Budweiser, Coors, Milwaukee's Best.
Nikki Sixx did that one time, except it was Jack Daniels. He said he was instantly drunk and then he passed out.
Okay, we've got 2 Budweisers, 1 Coors. Milwaukee's Best was around, by the way. I know some people, it was like an 1896, because I put it and I was like, man, how old is this? Let me look it up, and I was like, oh, this should be sufficient. Yes, so 250 points to the Budweisers out there.
Dang.
Sorry, Josh. We are at... Bigfoot's got the last 3 questions correct in a row, y'all. He's now the leader. Nope, tied with Robbie. 750. Oh, 750 across the board, actually. It's a 3-way tie. Lots of questions to go.
It's not our first 3-way.
The Devil's 3-way.
Ooh, the whole
It's a drinking game.
Is it? He injected Budweiser to his veins. He also admitted to using cocaine on a steady basis, and he told the doctors, quote, he possibly could have that night.
Maybe.
Fort Hamilton Hughes Memorial Hospital commented on Glen's mental condition during his stay by saying, quote, Glen is a mentally ill person subject to hospitalization by court order and represents a risk of physical harm to himself as manifested by evidence of threats of or attempts of suicide. So this is like their recommendation, and the cops are like, yeah, what are you, a fucking hospital? Shut up. And so nothing comes of it. So Glen is in the regular hospital for injecting Budweiser into his veins. They said that he should be locked up, and then he's immediately released on his own recognizance. Let's take a break here. Shake it out a little. Greg's got a short ghost story we didn't fit into the Halloween special, so he's brought it to this episode.
Dope.
Man, come back or we'll kill you.
And then I'll see you and tell stories about you on a podcast.
5 minutes? Greg's got a story. I don't need to set it up. Greg, do your damn thing.
All right, so here's the deal. I don't necessarily believe in ghosts. I mean, there's people that do. My wife does. That's cool. Like, I don't particularly.
It's like
believe in
religion.
ghosts.
Like, you're not going to hate on people that do believe in ghosts. It's
Right.
Just,
I feel
that's not
like-
your thing.
I feel like I don't know what's after death, but I feel like it's probably not milling around a townhome in Central California. So
So your story happens in a townhome in Central California.
yeah, when Sam and I first started dating, she was living with her roommate and her roommate's husband and their 2 kids. And the kids were always complaining about like somebody being in the room or somebody being walking around upstairs. So they would always get scared and go into their parents' room. And
Kids see more than we do, man.
they're open to it. So Sam and her roommate decided to fuck with a Ouija board. The 3 of them fuck with a Ouija board.
Just open the portal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not supposed to do that. So they did. And it got worse from what I hear. I mean, this was all before I showed up. But they did it again and it got even worse. And then Sam and I started dating and I was going over there and I was crashing out. And she woke up to go to work one morning and I was still in bed. And I sat up and I could clearly hear the shower running and could clearly see somebody in the shower. And I sat up and was like, hey, good morning. And like got out of bed and like walked through across the bedroom, keeping my eyes on the person in the shower in the mirror.
Because why not?
Right, just because I could see the curtains were open a little bit and I could see the reflection in the mirror. It was a little steamy, but I could see somebody standing there. So I walk up and open the curtain to be all boom, because who doesn't like a little full frontal in the morning? And I yanked the shower curtain open and there's nobody there. And I was like, huh. And I shut it. And then Sam came walking in from the hallway. She was all dressed and like on her way out the door. She was all right, I'm out of here. And I was like, somebody was just in the shower and the shower was running. And she's like, no. And I'm like, look, the mirror's still steamy. And she was like, huh. She's like, I took a shower over an hour ago. It wasn't steamy when I was in here a little bit ago. So that's the closest thing I have to a ghost story.
Oh man, sounds very The Shining.
I guess I still don't know exactly what it was, but
that's cool.
That's the closest I got.
Hey,
Didn't you mess with the Ouija board one time?
One time.
do you want to share that experience?
Yeah,
with
what
us?
happened?
We were like super little kids, so we were asking stupid questions like, how big is your penis? And it said like 86 inches, like stupid, like just dumb things like that.
Like, I'm not moving it, you're moving it.
Yeah, it was like that.
Or it's between 8 and 6
We
inches.
did ask it what its name was, and it like I totally forgot, but it spelled out a name. We asked it a few questions, and we asked it stupid questions, and
I've never
After that,
never put my hands on one.
yeah,
Let's
my friend's
do it
dad
right
saw
now.
us, and he was like, "What are you guys doing? You're not supposed to be doing that in this house." Like blah blah blah. I got all mad, and he like threw it away or something like that.
He took it outside and surrounded
No,
it
I think
with
he
salt.
did. I think he actually burned it and
Salt
then
and burned it?
and then we
Salt
threw
and
it in the
burned it.
pool. We threw it in the
Dang.
pool after that.
There you
My
go.
mouse pad is currently a Ouija board. Like it's a Ouija
Hey.
board mouse pad.
There you go.
Robbie's all about that.
No, fuck that.
Yeah.
Robbie seems very comfortable with it.
No.
Well, let's get back to the lovely story then. Of,
Talk to me about murders.
Glen Rogers, right. So it's a 1986, 24 years old is Glen Rogers, and at this time his father dies. It is said that Glen did not take it very well at all. I don't think anybody's like stoked to have a parent die most of the time, but Glen went to a very dark place. In 1987, alone, Glen is charged 5 times for public intoxication and 2 times for drunk driving. In November of 1987, he's taken to the emergency room after being beaten on the head with golf clubs. It is said that he was likely in a bar fight started by Glen and finished by someone else.
Is that a country club?
Yeah, he was beat pretty good, but no permanent damage done. In January of 88, he begins serving time in prison for the drunk driving arrests and drunken public arrests in 1987. While in prison, he is officially diagnosed with the inherited enzyme disorder, or the porphyria. So when he's 28, he finds out
This is what
legitimately what it is because prison gave him a little bit of health care. And we're like, did you know your piss is blue? Like, how'd you not know, right? He's like, I just
I thought
thought that's what it was.
I thought everybody's piss
That's
was blue.
exactly what I was thinking. Maybe
mean,
that's
it's
why
not
his mom
supposed
was
to be
so
like
mad that
that?
he was pissing the bed. He was staining all the sheets blue.
It's like he just opened a pen in his pants and just ink everywhere.
I drink a lot of Gatorade.
You've got blue on you.
I eat blueberries every day.
So, question number 8. How long would he spend in prison for all of his 1987 arrests? This one is open. Closest